Shabbat Shalom. Oh my gosh, this week, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. And it got weaker. I meant for you to actually, when I said it again, to get louder. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Ah. Pen Tov Meod. I'm happy to be here today and on this Shabbat, another beautiful Shabbat, with our Most High and all of you. There's a protocol thing that I need to kind of take care of before we actually get into the teaching today. We as Kohanim have discussed the matter, and we want to present it to the congregation before I get into the parashah here. We need some help. There are three of us, and we need actually a fourth teacher to come up and help us. Now, knowing that probably no one in here is going to raise their hand to do this, I kind of need to get a general consensus. We had some folks in mind who we would like to ask, but I'm just need to go and ask this kind of publicly. Okay? What it's going to require, let's get into a little bit of a protocol issue. What it's going to require is, if you select to do so, to join us up here, you're going to need to prepare your lesson. And your lesson, I know I write anywhere from 8 to 12 pages worth of notes in order to go ahead and get ready for this, depending on the complexity of what's going on, okay? So you're going to need to be able to write your lesson. You're going to have to submit it to the rabbi. He's going to approve it, and then you're going to have to come down and sit down with me, and I'm going to have to show you how to use the board, okay? So, John, why don't you help me out? I'm just going to go around the room. I don't want anybody to feel like you're getting singled out, because you're not, okay? And if you want to do it, just give me a nod. If you don't, you don't. For those individuals that are going to say yes, just write their names down for me real quick on that sheet of paper. So, you have an unction? No? Okay. Gail. Okay, so let's put Gail down. Kevin. No? Okay. Sis, no? Bingham. Y'all, don't be afraid of this. Y'all have too much word inside you. Maybe. Okay, so let's put Bingham down as a maybe. I'm going to skip over these two. Teresa. No? Not at this time. Keish. She's looking at her shoes. I ain't called her name. You want to do it? Want to join us up here? No? No, thank you. Okay. So how many people do we actually have?
We got one and one maybe.
One and one maybe. Okay, good. Okay, good. So it looks like we got at least one and a one maybe to come join us up here. So let me have that sheet of paper real quick. I just want to have the names. Yes. I have two maybes. That's right, two maybes.
Here, let me write that.
Okay, go ahead. Thank you. Now, I got to do two things before we go ahead and move on and get into the parashah real quick. I got to do two things. One, I just need to ask the question so we can help you, because there was a lot of no's that were in the room, okay? And we kind of need, in order to help you, because you're going to have to go outside of these doors. You're going to have to talk to individuals. And so if you can't talk to your own, then how are you going to talk to somebody else? So kind of help me. I just need to understand, just for our own edification amongst the three of us, why did you guys say no? Still learning? Why did you say no? Yeah. You don't want to get up in front of people, okay? Why did you say no? You're not a public speaker. Teresa, why did you say no? You don't want to be presumptuous. Why did you say no? What is it? She went catatonic. Did you see this? Put the camera over there. Put the camera over. She just went catatonic. Is there any reason why you said no? Oh, wow. Silence. Okay. That was one. So we kind of know between the three of us why everybody's kind of saying no. We got one last thing to do before we move on. I want everybody to do this with me, okay? It's over. All right. Now, what I want you to do now is give yourself a round of applause. You're giving yourself a round of applause because you just taught yourself a key part of this parashah that we're going to talk about today. Moshe was approached by the Most High. And he said, I want you to do something. I want you to go and I want you to talk to the leaders of the tribes of Israel. I want you to go talk to Paro. And what did Moshe do? He gave the same answer that you gave. I'm not ready. I'm not a public speaker. I did that to put you in the frame of mind of Moshe when Moshe actually was asked. Okay? You get it? There's something else you need to get too. Because those of you that were in here, told I made it public when I said, I need to go talk to you two individuals, pointing to Rabbi and Kohanim Harless. I said that publicly, didn't I? I said, I need to speak with you two in the back. There's another principle that they're going to get that you all will get as well at the same time. My intention was to start teaching that parashah when I actually started walking through those doors when I came in here. And that was part of it. Because what did the Most High do with Moshe as well? Because you're a bad public speaker and I know it, come here. I'm going to tell you the game plan. Let's huddle up. And I want you to play along with me. I took them in the back and I told them exactly what I was getting ready to do. So if anybody looked back there and they looked at their faces, they would be very stoic. I told them the script before I even got up here. They were all in on it. Okay? That's another concept you got to understand as well, is that Moshe didn't walk in there actually had a predefined script that he was using, and it came from the Most High himself. It wasn't Moshe speaking on his own. All right? Get the concept? All right, let's get right into this. Parashah Ve'ira. I appeared, or he appeared. Shemot, chapter 6, verse 2, through chapter 9, verse 35. Okay? Let's go over the highlights of this particular portion of text or scripture that we're going to cover. In Shemot chapter 6, very befitting when we kind of set up the schedule for our teachings this year, we made sure that by the time that we got to Parashah Bo, which is the next parashah or portion of scripture, that we were going to wind up right on Pesach, because that's what we're talking about. We're in that season, that festival. In chapter 6, we're going to find out that Moshe is commissioned, which he was prior to this actually. This is kind of a reaffirmment of his commission to lead the children of Israel out of Mitzrayim. For those of you, COI is the children of Israel. Mitzrayim is Egypt. In chapter 7, oh boy, that's not chapter 7. That's chapter 7. Chapter 7, we're going to learn about the staff to snakes. Somebody had a staff in their hand, turned into a snake. Water to blood, and the army of frogs. We're going to continue on in chapter 8 with the army of frogs. We're going to have the conclusion of what happens with that army of frogs, chapter 8. Some other things that will happen in chapter 8 as well. Shemot, chapter 9. We're going to need these boards up here today. And the first place I'm going to end up going is just be in the New Testament. Shemot, chapter 9, is death of the livestock. And then we have sores and hail. And those of you that have been over my abode prior to this, you know where I'm going with this hail thing. Okay? All right. Let's kind of give you a brief overview of what's been going on here. So we're in chapter 6. Moshe is getting ready to go before Paro, And the Most High actually commissions him to, again, it reaffirms the commission. Everybody know what happened prior to this with Moshe? Which is what? Take me back when he got the commission. So let's go back to when he got the commission. You got to go all the way back to Shemot chapter 3 in order to get the commission that the Most High gave Moshe. He says to him this. Moshe was tending his I believe, his father-in-law's flock. When he was tending his father-in-law's flock, he saw an angel. This angel appeared, and then he investigated a little bit more. He found a burning bush that wasn't being consumed by the fire. He went to investigate it. When he saw it, voice spoke to him and said, listen, take off your sandals, your shoes, because you are standing on holy ground. He removes his shoes. He receives the commission. He backpedals. I don't want to do it. Isn't there somebody else that can do this other than me? Okay? Totally is trying to back out of it with the Most High. I wanted to do that because I wanted to also dispel another thing that I believe that the scripture is talking about. The scripture never says that Moshe had a speech impediment. Because we've learned before in the past that the reason why Moshe didn't want to do it is because he stammered a lot when he talked. He didn't say that. He gave the same reason you gave. Can you talk? Do you stammer when you talk? No, you don't. Your reasons for not doing it is because I'm not a public speaker. I just can't do it. Send by somebody else to commission, but it's not because I can't speak. Okay? So, gives him all these kinds of excuses left and right. The Most High says to him, isn't it I who makes a deaf person hear? Isn't it I that makes a person that cannot speak? I will put the words in your mouth. And here's another thing that happens during that particular time as well. The Most High says to Moshe, he says, you're going to need to be equipped to do some things. So let's go to practice a little bit. Take your staff. I want you to throw it on the ground. It's going to become a snake. Moshe does it. Moshe also, the Most High says what? Take some water, pour it on the ground. It's going to turn to blood. There's a third thing that Moshe is instructed to do, which is what? Put his hand in his jacket, his coat, pull it out. It's going to be leprous, white as snow. Put it back, boom, comes back out. All right? Now, if you've read the parashah, one of the things you're going to notice is that 2 out of those 3, he actually performs in front of Paro. Now, what he's done is a matter of fact, the Most High says to Moshe, says, listen, here comes your brother. He's coming up here. He's going to meet you. Tell him everything, or at least Moshe tells him everything that he discussed with the Most High. Aaron is along with it. They go to the elders, which is one thing that I noticed that when I was over in the New Testament, that one thing Yeshua never does is he never goes to the elders to seek their approval, to speak on the behalf of the children of Israel. Never does it. Matter of fact, I'm going to get over into that famous scripture over in John 3:16. We're going to talk about John 3 today, just for a quick second. Because the adverse actually happens in that particular passage of text. But anyway, he goes to the elders. He does all 3 of these events from the elders. And he also tells the elders that who has sent him, Eye Asher Eryeh, has sent me. They go along with it. They give him their permission to go speak in front of Paro. Moshe and Aharon go and speak in front of Paro. It ends horribly. Because the first time they go and they says, hey, I need to tell you, Mr. Paro, that you need to let the children of Israel leave and worship the Most High in the desert. 3-day journey. Who in the world are you to tell me that your God that I don't know anything about told you to leave? Now, part of this dissertation with Moshe is that the Most High has informed Moshe that he's going to harden Pharaoh's heart. You don't run a whole entire country unless you're the former president and don't know what I'm sorry. You don't run a whole entire country, know these issues, and just continue to be obstinate. He was made to be hardened. Just like I set up that circumstance for all of you to have some type of angst and trepidation and fear when I went ahead and asked you, do you want to speak? I contoured that to make you feel that way. So think about it this way. The situation that Pharaoh's being put in, arrogance. I am God. What are you to tell me that you're going to release the children of Israel? Hardened him. Okay? Think about it. Now, talks to him. He says, hey, okay. I'm not going to let the people go. And since you decided to come in here and disrespect me like you just did, I'm going to actually make it harder for them. I'm going to take away some of the materials, and they have to produce twice as much. Moshe and Aharon leave. Who is upset? Israel is upset. They're like, what in the world did you do? We sent you in there to help us. But now we have less materials and we got to do more. Okay? This is what's happening. Moshe goes back and complains to the Most High. He says, what good did that do sending me in there? Great confidence builder, Most High. Thank you. Next time I go in there, I'll have all the confidence in the world. He complains to him. He says, why did you do that? Okay? The Most High the Most High now begins to set up what we have in chapter 6 through chapter 9. We're going to get into his part 2 of going in front of Pharaoh. Okay? So, let's start at chapter number 6. But prior to that, before we're doing that, I'm going to tell you what. This is a clear definition of when things go wrong. You have to be on your toes to the point where you can just go ahead and free flow with it. And that's what I'm doing right now, because I sent myself the wrong parashah on my tablet. But luckily, I just found it. I'm looking at this like, what? That's Akremot. We're in Bair. What in the world? But before we do that, we do a little bit of Hebrew. So let's do that. All right. So instead of me going ahead and kind of writing the vowels up there, I've already put them up there for you so you know what they are. So we can move a little bit quicker. Okay? So, C plus V equals S. Consonant plus the vowel equals the sound. We got to have the consonant plus the vowel. We read from Yamin to Shmol, from right to left. All right, so let's translate this. Anybody can already tell me what that says? Vaideber. Roll that. Roll your R. Vaideber. Good. So, what does that mean? Yes. And he spoke. Learn this. Because when you start reading Hebrew, anybody that tells you when you crack open that Tanakh and you read it, that word is plastered all over the place. And the Most High spoke. And the Most High, and Moshe said, and Vaideber. It's all over the place. So let's translate it real quick. This is going to be a little bit of a tricky one because we've got a combination vowel right off the bat. Okay? So let's go through this. This is a vav. It makes the V sound. Excellent. So that takes care of our consonant. The lines and the dots are our vowels. Okay? So we have to deal with the little line underneath that. Now, this line and this yod is a combination vowel. It makes the I sound. Okay? Now, we've got a schwa. The rule with the schwa is that if it is preceded by a vowel, it is silent. Beautiful. So we're just going to draw a little line to deal with the schwa. Now we go on to the next character, which is a dalet, which makes the D sound. Very good. What's underneath the dalet? The dalet has an ah underneath it. Okay, so we just write an A for the ah. So we got the dalet and then we got the line. Okay, I don't want you to pay attention to this little swoosh right here. Okay, one of these. Don't worry about it. This next one is a bet. It makes a B sound. Very good. Now, what's underneath the bet is what I want you to pay attention to is these two little dots, which makes a eh sound. Very good. And then we have a resh, which is a R. Okay? Vai daber. Good. Ken tov meod. Next word. Who is that? Moshe. All right. Let's go through Moshe. This is a mem, and it makes the M sound. Very good. Next one. We have to deal with the vowel. It's a consonant plus the vowel. Where's the vowel? It's on the top at the left-hand side, right in the corner. And that makes a O sound. Okay? Next is our shin. That's our consonant. It makes the SH. It's probably one of the best ones in the whole entire alphabet because sh starts with Sean. Anyway. I wish I had a drummer over there. All right, so underneath the shin, we have these three little dots. Do not pay attention to that little hook. It's something else. This makes the S sound. Very good. And then we have a hey at the end to close everything off, all right? I wrote them big and small so you could understand consonant, vowel, consonant, vowel, consonant. Okay? C plus V, C plus V, C plus V, C plus V, Moshe. Good? At least, and if you walked out now, at least you learn how to read Hebrew. You can go read it for yourself. You ain't got to listen to me pontificate for the next hour and a half. All right, chapter number 6. All right. Now, what we have at the beginning of chapter number 6 is Moshe is approached by the Most High, and the Most High gives him some instructions. And the Most High basically says to him this. He reintroduces himself. He says, I am Yahweh. Prior to this, you knew me as what? El Shaddai. Now, I revealed myself to Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov as El Shaddai. I am revealing my name to you as Yod He Vav He. Okay? Now, in this whole entire dissertation that the Most High is doing with Moshe, he's telling him, he reiterates to him his purpose, the contract. He says, your ancestors roamed in the land of the Canaanite as foreigners. I've heard their cry in Mitzrayim, and I'm going to deliver these people out of Mitzrayim with an outstretched arm, with great judgments. This is kind of enumerated. Matter of fact, it is enumerated and talked about, and I want to spend some time here in Shemot chapter 6, verses 7 through 8. I need you to go to, on the screen, let's go to New Testament, let's go to John chapter 3. Okay? Let's read this together. Because maybe this is a revelation for you, maybe it's not. Maybe you've seen this before. In Shemot, the Most High makes this decree. Think of this as, because at the end, when you see the end of it, it'll kind of make sense. He's saying, this is my stamp, this is what I'm doing, and I'm going to sign it. Okay? Let's read it. It says, I will take you as my people. It says, and I will be your Elohim. Then you will know that I am Yahweh, your Elohim. Stop. Who's talking? Yahweh's talking. Is he? Very good. Very good. He is talking. Who freed you from the forced labor. He's saying that this is what's going to happen, and this is the testimony that you're going to have, because I'm going to do all this. Who freed you from your forced labor from the Egyptians. I will bring you into the land which I swore to give to you, Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. I will give it to you as your inheritance. Signed, I am Yahweh. Tell me what you see. That's a promise. It's an oath. Good. Look at all these Hebrews with these beautiful answers. What don't you see? Gave you a huge hint when I said go to John 3:16. Does that say, oh, I swore to give to Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, I will give this to you as an inheritance, comma, and I will send my only begotten son later on. That ain't there. Wait a minute. This is the Most High saying this. Find where anywhere in that Old Testament that you like to call, where the Most High makes a commitment to a people outside of that. And signed, I am Yahweh. There is no addition to that. So when you get over to John 3:16, this Hebrews, this is your John 3:16 right here. This is your John 3:16. This is the contract. This is the only commitment that the Most High has made to his people. The only one. Now, the Most High said certain things along the way to say, okay, I'm going to deliver you into the land. Go take these people. I will be with you. I'll give you my commands. But all of that is systemic to that statement right there. Once I do that, I fulfilled what I had to do. So where do we get this idea that shows up in John 3:16 that the God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son? Where do we get that from? Who's talking? That's a narrative. Let's talk about that narrative for a second. Because the problem that we're having with a lot of people in Christianity, our brothers and sisters that are still over there, is because they still have this issue of over-spiritualizing everything that they see. If you read the text, if you simply read it, you will figure out that that text in John chapter 3, leading all the way up to 16 and beyond, actually is Yeshua's failure to answer a question. What happens? Yeshua's in town. Oh, the Hebrews get word that he's there. A person claiming to be from the tribe of Yehuda is speaking. Okay, let's go talk to him. So the leader goes and talks to him. What's his name? Nicodemus. The leader of the Hebrews says, let me go talk to this guy. He approaches him out of respect. He doesn't call him God. He says, teacher, rabbi. Didn't call him an evangelist. Didn't call him a prophet. Didn't call him any of that. He just says, teacher, you have been saying a lot of things, and actually what's been happening here is that you've been doing miracles, which leads us to believe that God, Elohim, is with you. How does Yeshua answer? He answers him and he says, yes, indeed, that's the truth. And nobody can enter into heaven unless they be born again. What? Huh? And that is the correct response. Because if you continue to read on, that's what Nicodemus says. He says, what are you talking about? What are you literally talking about? What you're saying to me is that how can a person be born again through their mother a second time? Yeshua continues to go on with this whole entire diatribe about the things of the flesh are the flesh, the things of the spirit. I asked you a simple question. How can it happen? And you never answer it. You never answer it. And furthermore, you have the audacity to quote Moshe. Because he says, just as Moshe had lifted up the snake in the desert. Now let's take a segue off of that. Why did Moshe lift up the snake in the desert? Because the children of Israel were in the desert and they were complaining. Because they said, listen, I'm sick and tired of this manna. We don't have any water. We're literally out here just wandering around. We're tired of this. We need probably some new leadership. What in the world is going on with you? Most High, just like one of your kids coming up to you, talking to you, telling you where to get on and get off at. Oh, I see what we're going to do here. So what did the Most High do? He sent a whole bunch of poisonous snakes. It says a lot of the children of Israel died. That's why I used that term earlier, army of frogs. The Most High will use the elements in this earth as his army. He sent an army of snakes in there, and they killed some of those Hebrews. Hebrews said, okay, pray, go talk to the Most High, Moshe, and make this go away. So he says, put on a staff, a bronze snake, and when you lift that snake up, anybody that's been bitten by it will see it, and they'll be healed. It's anytime when you see an ambulance going around, everybody that's in the healthcare industry, when you see an ambulance go on, there's a snake around us. That's where that comes from. Okay? That's where that comes from. But Yeshua in John 3 says, the Son of Man must be lifted up, just like Moshe lifted up the snake in the desert. Again, think about this. You are Hebrews. You know the laws and the commandments of the Most High. What is this man talking about? Literally, if you took John 3, that whole entire chapter, changed the names, and I told you about that in a different light, you'd be like, this man's a lunatic. What is he even talking about? Sounds like something is missing, because if you continue to read on, Yeshua says what he says, and then the next part is they're in some other part of the town later on that night. You have no conclusion of him proving anything other than what did he do? Speak in parables and riddles, which we've already brought out earlier that the Most High doesn't speak in parables and riddles. It's plain, simple English or simple Hebrew. I shouldn't even have said that. Simple Hebrew. Most High is clear. So, think about this. Anytime you want to use that John 3:16, let's just strip off all this spiritualness that's on top of this and just read it. Because literally, that's what you're doing. You're taking new people that you're calling converts and you're casting this, should I say it, a spell on them to think a certain way without actually going and actually giving them the real deal Holyfield. You putting some kind of incantation on it so they can't understand exactly what's happening. So be careful of that. Somebody want to pull that up on you and say, listen, sister, brother, I understand you gung-ho for Jesus, you all that, I grant it, but I'm going to tell you, for me, the Most High spoke this and said this was his promise to his people. You tell me anywhere in Scripture where the Most High says something different. And it came out of the mouth of the Most High, and it's signed by the Most High. Tell me. If you can't do that, then the first thing you need to understand is that you're worshiping something other than the Most High. Okay? Get that in your spirit. So now we're on good ground and you on your side and I'm on our side, now we can talk intelligently. Because what you're trying to do is blend two ideas together, which are not going to work. That's why you're confused. Okay? Chapter 6, that was verse 7 and 8. All right. Moshe is instructed to go to Paro, the king of Mitzrayim, to tell him that the children of Israel need to be released. And again, I put this reference in here so you could understand what Moshe actually says. Moshe says, Yahweh, oh, Yahweh, I am a terrible speaker. I have always been, and I am no better now, even after you've spoken to your servant. My words come slowly. My tongue moves slowly. What he's trying to tell you is that he's just not a good talker. He doesn't have the eloquence to have a command over the English lexicon. He can't sit there and say words like, it's the paragon of resplendent systemic to trepidation. These kinds of words. He doesn't have. I do not know how to be eloquent in front of your people, or paro for that matter. Who gives a person a mouth? Who makes a person dumb or deaf? Keen-sighted or blind? Isn't it I, Yahweh? Now, therefore, go. And I will be within you, I will be in your mouth and will teach you what to say. Don't worry about what you need to do. I'm going to teach you everything you need to say. Now, the scripture in here actually takes a quick turn because it then enumerates and Moshe substantiates, just like he's almost what he's doing here in this next piece, all the way through the end of chapter 6, is he's trying to establish that this is Moshe and Aharon, not a different Moshe and Aharon. So he starts to tell you his genealogy. And it only does 3 of the sons of Israel, which is Yaakov. It starts enumerating the genealogy of the firstborn, which is who? Reuven. Secondborn, Shimshon. Third is Levi. Now, what Moshe does, and I'm going to bring something up. I need to get, let's go to Vayikra. I think it's in Vayikra. Yes, let's go to Vayikra 18 and 11. Moshe starts enumerating his genealogy. It says that Levi had a son, actually had 3 sons. One of his sons was Kahat and Gershom. Now follow me. For all of you guys that like knowing about family history, we're going to do Moshe's family history real quick. Okay? There was a guy. His name is Levi. He had a son. One of his sons' name was Kahat. Kahat had a son. His name was Amram. Now, we got a little bit of a problem in the text. Okay? Some of you may even come up to me and ask me about this later on, but we got a little bit of problem with the text because it says that Amram married Kahat's sister, which would mean, who did he marry? Now let's start over. There's Levi. Got it? Levi has a son called Kahat. Got it? Kahat has a son called Amram. Amram marries Kahat's sister. That's his aunt. Devarim 12. What does it say? Oh, I'm sorry, that's a Devarim. It's in Vayikra. You're in the right place. Vayikra, or Leviticus chapter 18, verse 12 says, you are not to have sexual relations with your father's sister because she is your father's close relative. Well, this is trying to establish that Moshe didn't come from an all clean group of folks. Okay? He didn't. Let me tell you something else about Moshe too. The more and more I study Moshe, the more and more I have an affection for him. Because Moshe was a no-nonsense kind of person. Even though he was humble, he'll snap your neck in a heartbeat. You don't think he won't? He killed somebody in Mitzrayim and buried him somewhere because he was doing what? Messing with his people. He had a heart for the people. Moshe got fed up and said, you know what? Kill them all. Moshe came down from that mountain and Moshe said, y'all are jacking up? Y'all want to worship this apis the bull? Who's with the Most High? We are. Kill him. Moshe is a no-nonsense kind of person. Okay? I want you to paint this picture for you like he's this nice, humble old guy. He is. But he is very obedient. And that's what we're going to kind of learn here a little bit today. All right? So, Moshe doesn't have this clean beginning. So, other things that you should know before we close out chapter 6 is that, again, so it says that Amram, let's go back. Levi, Kahat, Amram has a son. Actually has two sons. The sons of Amram are Moshe and Aharon. He also has a famous sister. What's her name? What did she do when she got over the other side? She led worship when they got over to the other side. So you have these three individuals that are born to Amram, okay? Now it goes on to say, now you get introduced, I think probably for the first time, to the four priests coming from Aharon. Because at this particular time, he still has anybody. This is extra credit. What are the four sons of Aharon? Two of them got killed because they brought strange fire. Nadav, Abihu, Itmar, and Eleazar. Eleazar has a famous son. His name is Pinchas. The Hebrew word for Pinchas is dark-skinned. What? His name literally means dark-skinned. Go look it up. All right? One other person to note before we get out of here is that, and go into chapter 7, is that, again, going back, Levi, Kahat, Amram, all right? When we get to this, I believe the Kahat stage, Kahat actually has a brother. His brother's name is Yitzchar. Yitzchar has a son. His son's name is, let me go. Oh, y'all want to do something? Oh, y'all want to do something? I'm going to crack that ground, and all you and the rest of your cohorts are going to fall in it. Who is that? Korach. All right? So, Pinchas, Korach, we know that Moshe's mother's name is Yocheved. We find out all these things right here, okay? You get introduced to all these people because they're famous later on, okay? Which goes to show you that Moshe is very succinct when he's dropping these little seeds in to say, okay, I've already introduced you to Pinchas and Korach, so you know later on when we get to their portions, you know what they're about. Okay? Very good. That closes chapter number 6. Actually, does it? No, it doesn't. Let's end with the final statement in chapter number 6. And again, I made a note here for myself, and I said, quite notably, it seems as there seems to be some sort of test for Moshe. Because I had to ask myself when I'm looking at this, I said, you're the Most High. You control everything. Why don't you just make all the Egyptians drop dead and just let them leave? What is the purpose of making Moshe do all of this? Now, I will never tell you something if I can't support it in Scripture. That's why I'm going to preface my statement and says, this is my own postulation. This is my own idea, okay? My feeling about that is that the Most High is grooming Moshe for this task. He's grooming him for the task of leading the people in the desert. If I cannot trust you to go in there and talk in front of Paro and say exactly what I told you to say, this is an issue of obedience. I need you to go in there and speak to Paro and tell him exactly what I tell you. You do that without fail, to a fault, I got somebody I can work with. It's my opinion, if Moshe would have fell down one time in doing anything with Paro, he probably would have got somebody else. This is a test for Moshe, okay? Because you're going to be in the desert with a bunch of black folk for the next 40 years. You make 2 left-hand turns, they're going to be cussing you out. Period. You will not be driving the car no more. Get out. Got no GPS, no TomTom, nothing. And we over here eating cakes and grass. What? So, at any rate, let's end off this chapter and go into chapter number 7. We move kind of quickly here. On the day when Yahweh spoke to Moshe in the land of Mitzrayim or Egypt, he said, I am Yahweh. Tell Paro, king of Mitzrayim or Egypt, everything that I say to you. Moshe answered Yahweh, look, I am such a poor speaker that Paro will not listen to me. Again, this is the second time that Paro, at least Moshe has mentioned this. Actually, he's mentioned it quite a few times prior to this to Most High. I want to leave you with one thing here before we go into 7. I know I keep saying that, and I'm kind of Indian given right now, but I'm going to give you a little bit of insight that I had about this, because it spoke to me personally, and I feel like the Most High was speaking to me when I read this. And what I got out of this was this. I did not need to have any fear when it comes to dealing with anything in life. Before, I had the attitude of, okay, there's fear there, there's angst there. I asked all of you to speak. No one really wanted to raise their hand to talk for whatever reason that you personally had. See, I don't look at situations anymore like, oh, okay, I'm going to be in this situation and I've got to try to figure out how to protect me so I'm safe, so I'm not at risk at anything. If the Most High has ordered me to do something, what I'm looking for right now is for the Most High to show up. I'm not looking for failure. I'm looking for the Most High to be there. If you've commissioned what you've commissioned, then I am going to wait to see the edification of you. Every time I talk, I am not going to speak for your rabbi. I am not going to speak for Kohanim Harless. But I'm going to tell you what. If you read my notes and you look at what I'm actually talking about, there's a difference between what's going on here. And that difference is the Most High showing up. I am expecting the Most High to show up in between here. This is my safety net. Anything that I get off the beaten path with that resonates with all of you is because the Most High is stepping in. So I'm looking for the Most High now instead of looking for fear. I'm afraid to do X, or I'm afraid to learn Hebrew. I'm afraid to do this. I'm afraid to do that. I'm afraid to study because I don't know what to study. Look, just do it and wait for the manifestation of the Most High to appear. Okay? Understand that. You are Hebrew. You don't walk in fear. That is what Moshe is doing. He's giving him a whole bunch of dissertation about fear. He don't want to do it. All I'm asking you to do, Moshe, is just go there, and I'll do the rest. Okay? That's what I got out of that. It's like, you know what? I got to go into this business meeting. I got to talk in front of people. I've got some angst about it. So what? Let's do it. Most High, you'll put the words where they need to go. All right. Chapter 7. Chapter 7. Let's get into chapter 7. Whew. All right. Chapter 7 begins with this issue again. We're going to see these particular issues continue to get repeated. But one more note. Moshe is 80 years old when he appears in front of Paro. His brother is 83, which is Aharon. All right. Just like I did earlier with Yochanan and with Rabbi, I pulled him aside. We start out with this kind of this, hey guys, let's huddle up. Moshe, come on over here. Let me tell you what's going to happen, okay? This is what's going to happen. I'm going to give you a play-by-play of what's going to happen. So all you got to do is just go with it, all right? Just go with it. All right. The Most High continues by stating that after all the miraculous acts and judgments shown to the Egyptians in their stubbornness, the Most High is going to send his armies. His armies. This is one of the first places where in Scripture the Most High says that the children of Israel are his people. This is before the children of Israel actually make the declaration. They know about the Most High, but public declaration hasn't been made yet because they haven't left Mitzrayim yet. Okay? This is also where the Most High says, I've heard them crying out. Right here you get the formula for how we're going to get back to the Most High. Okay? It's not fragmented. It's not yet by you being Baptist. It's not by you being Episcopalian. It's not by any of these denominations that you want to talk about. It's about everybody returning back to the Most High and the Most High hearing us cry out. You want the answer? That's what's going to have to happen. Period. The end of the story. What's the other pattern? We talked about this in our podcast. What is the other thing that's going to need to happen? The children of Israel have always had a leader. Okay? All right? So, the Most High says, or at least Moshe narrates and says, the children of Israel will need to have cried out to the Most High, and he's coming to deliver. Now, he says to Moshe, this is what's going to happen. I'm going to make you look like a god in front of Paro. And your prophet is going to be Aharon. He'll do some of the talking for you when you get in front of Paro. They get in front of Paro, and again, you got to understand the dynamic where we are. We're in Mitzrayim. So they know about physical gods, all right? They worshipped animals, correct? Did they not? Sure they did. They worshipped all kinds of things. So this concept of Moshe appearing as a God person in front, representing the Hebrews, which were abhorrent to the Egyptians. The Egyptians didn't like them. Okay? Appears in front of Paro, and we have one of our first, displays, for lack of eloquence, with the staff and the snake. Moshe throws the staff down, or orders Aharon to throw the staff down, and again, the Most High tells Moshe to do all of this prior to, and this is the kind of the execution of the plan here. So he goes out, throws the staff down. What happens? Come on, you've seen 10 Commandments by Charlton Heston, and this, anyway. Throws the staff down. What does he say? He said, let me go get my sorcerers and my magicians and all my folks, and they come in there, they throw the staff down, and then Aharon's staff eats the other snakes. And then Aharon picks it back up, it turns back into a staff. Who is unimpressed? Paro is unimpressed. This is just a parlor trick. Be gone. Fine, no problem. Moshe says, come back. This is what's going to happen. This is what we're going to do. Go back. And when you go back, I'm going to harden Pharaoh's heart. But this is what I want you to do. I want you to go, and I want you to take that same staff that you turned into a snake, and I want you to raise your hands up. And what I want you to do is I want you to raise it up over the water. And when you strike the water is going to turn into blood. Okay? He goes back. He says, okay. He said, well, know this. When you go and tell him always what I want, which is the children of Israel need to be freed. They need to come to the desert, to take that 3-day journey to the desert to worship me. And if you don't let them go, this is what's going to happen. Most High always will give you a warning. He will always give you a warning. Moshe goes back. He tells Paro this. Paro, or at least, matter of fact, when this particular thing happens, I believe, let me check my notes here. I don't want to screw it up. I think this happens in the morning, actually, on the next. Yes, in the morning. So, in the morning, Moshe goes down to the water where Paro is, raises his hands, and then all of the what? The rivers, canals, strikes the water, and all of the rivers, the canals, the ponds, the reservoirs, wooden buckets, and stone jars, anything that had water in it, turned to blood. Turns to straight blood. Now, what does Paro do? Let's go with what we know before. Nice little illusion, nice little parlor trick. Hey, why don't y'all come in here and show them how it's done? They take some water, and their magicians turn it into blood. Now we're setting the stage for the fact that I've just got this clown coming in here performing little parlor tricks. And what you going to do next? You're going to make a card come out of your wrist. You're going to have a whole bunch of colored handkerchiefs comes out of your throat next. What's next? You're like a clown. Okay, all right. Be gone with you. All right. Now, what the Egyptians do after this is they actually, the waters all turn to blood, mind you. They start digging around the river for new water, and they start using that. Okay? So all of the water system now is kind of being diverted because they dug around the river and actually got some water there. After this particular issue, Moshe goes away. We enter into the next plague. Moshe says, come on. This is what we're going to do next. Now, each individual time that this is happening, now granted, I told you before that Moshe was shown 3 different signs to practice before he went ahead and got in front of the elders of Israel. He did what? He had the staff, the snake. What else did he do? He did the blood. We just covered 2 of those, so Moshe's done these 2 before. Which one hasn't he done? The hand with the leprosy. Think about it for a second. Why didn't he do that one? It's obvious. He didn't do that one because it doesn't affect Israel. It doesn't affect Mitzrayim. What is me turning my hand to leprosy going to do for you? Nothing. See, y'all, the first one just set the stage. The second one, it was the start of affecting Mitzrayim. Okay? Now, think about this for a second. And this is my postulation. Again, this is not in Scripture. This is just my idea. This is where I believe Paro really starts manipulating the situation. You just had all of your water system turn to blood. Let's just bring it home. All of the water in Sacramento turns to blood. What are you going to do? Just sit at home? You're going to complain. What in the world is going on? There will be people in the street. How do you calm these people down? How do you do it? Think about it, the practicality of it. Stop spiritualizing it and think about it. If I was Pharaoh, again, this is my own postulation, my own idea, my own opinion. If I was Pharaoh, I'd start using this to my advantage. Yes, I am the God Pharaoh. I turn the water into blood because all of you have offended me. Why not use this to your advantage to control the people? You are a ruler and a dictator of the whole entire land of Mitzrayim. Do you ever come to your people and be like, you know what? It's that guy. He turned it. I don't know what to do. Text never says that. Okay? Use it to your advantage. Again, the Most High said, I'm going to harden his heart. How do you harden it? By using the situation to your advantage. Okay? I am the one that's doing this. I am in complete control. These Hebrews have nothing to do with anything, but behind the scenes, the Hebrews are controlling everything. Do you think your Elohim is stupid? You think that he's not strategic? Orchestrating every bit of this. Okay? Frogs. Next one that comes up. Big deal. The Most High, matter of fact, 7 days. So 7 days pass, and this again is another postulation because I gotta reconcile this as well, is that the Scripture never says that, and this is kind of one of the plagues where something happens and Moshe doesn't make it go away. When you read this text, there's nothing in there that tells you that he struck the water, it turned to blood, and then he went back to the Most High and asked for it to be removed. So the text goes on and say, as you transition into the plague of the frogs or the army of the frogs, it just starts out with the army of the frogs. It never says that the water was turned back. But it does say 7 days after the water was struck, we start the plague of the frogs. So my own thinking here is to say, okay, it subsided over 7 days, and now we're kind of back to normal. Okay? But there's no emphatic way in the text to prove that. But I'm just making a point to say that Moshe is silent as he narrates this, to turning it back. We get to the plague of the frogs. It says after this first 7 days, after the river was struck, and all these miraculous feats that were appearing to come from Moshe and Aharon, because Moshe and Aharon are not doing this. This is the Most High orchestrating this behind them. Okay? Moshe is told to go to Paro and tell him to let the Hebrew people leave. Same deal. It says if you don't let the people leave, this is what's going to happen. There are going to be swarms of frogs that are going to come out of that river. And I want you to think. Put yourself in Mitzrayim as an Egyptian. Because none of you in here will let a roach or a daddy long-legged spider or an ant set foot across your threshold. It'll be dead on sight. It's on and cracking. That's why I'll give you a quick little thing. My family gets on my case because, I don't get into the ocean. And there was a particular situation that came up where I don't get into the ocean. And there was one of the famous comedians said, Paul Mooney, by the way, he says, hey, look, there's a reason why I don't get in the water neither. He says, because of the fact that if I get in the water, I'm in somebody's house. He got the right to eat me. Let a shark come up in your house. The first thing you're going to do is, where's my gun at? Well, I'm going to stab that you in some place that you shouldn't be. Ain't no shark going to be in my kitchen talking about, I can't find the Lowry's seasoned salt in this cupboard. What is you doing here? At any rate, think this. If Paro doesn't let the people go, then what I'm going to do is we're going to have frogs come out of the river. And there'll be so many frogs that they will be everywhere. It says that they'll be crawling on you. They will be in your house. Sister, when you go to bed and you peel back your sheets, frogs will be in your bed. How many of you are going to sleep? Nothing. So what do? We complain and we take to the streets. Paro, what in the world is going on? I am Paro the God. I will make the frogs leave when I decide to make them leave. Use it to your advantage. Okay? So, after this is going on and Paro has had about enough of this, he says, hey, Moshe, you need to make this go away, okay? Because this is not going to work for anybody around here. So he's got this little deal going on behind closed doors. He comes to Moshe. He tells him, hey, listen, I will permit the children of Israel to leave and worship the Most High, but here's the thing that's going to happen. Here's the thing that's going to happen. Matter of fact, I went down a little bit too far. Here's what's going to happen. All right. Actually, that's incorrect. That's incorrect. We end chapter 7 there. Okay? We end it there. All right. Chapter 8. Now, kind of got a little ahead of myself because that's actually in the plague of lice. Okay, chapter 8 begins. We only got 2 more chapters, this one and 9. Chapter 8 begins with, again, Moshe being told by the Most High the plan concerning the conclusion of this issue with these frogs. Now, I want to tell you how bad it got. Moshe went ahead and went back to Moshe went back to Paro, and Paro asked him to make all these frogs go away. And he says, you know what, I'm going to let you guys leave. So I was right. And Moshe says this, because you decided to let the children of Israel leave, I'm going to grant you the day when the frogs are going to leave. I'll let you pick it. Paro immediately tells him, I want the frogs gone tomorrow. Make sure they're gone tomorrow. Moshe goes out, intercedes on Paro's behalf. the frogs all die. Now, he wasn't specific on how he was wanting to get the frogs to go. Wasn't specific. The Most High just let them die right where they were. This created a huge entire stink in the land of Mitzrayim. The whole entire land stunk. What it says, the text says, is that what they did, the Egyptians took them dead frogs and were piling them up in heaps all over the place. Now, Pharaoh at this particular point should be really upset at Moshe because number one, yeah, you got rid of them, but then you left me with a bigger problem. I got a sanitary issue going on now. My land stinks, okay? But again, my postulation, I'm going to use it for my advantage. I am supreme. That is why I did it. I am Paro. You people just need to go ahead and clean it up. Use it. Use it. Okay? Ends off that one by saying, hey, look, Paro's heart was still unmoved by this whole entire situation with the frogs. All right. Okay. Wow. Geez, I'm moving pretty good. Next thing that happens here. Swarms of lice. Now, again, same scenario. Gets told the battle plan. If he doesn't let him leave, what you're going to do is you're going to strike the ground. When you strike the dust of the ground, it shall become lice. Lice was crawling everywhere. It was over the people, and it was over the animals as well. But Paro does something again. He says, okay, this may be just, again, another parlor trick. Let me go ahead and call my sorcerers and magicians in here. He calls them in there. He says, conjure up lice like this Hebrew, this blue-black Hebrew that came in here. Do that. Oh! Paro, we can't, because that is the finger of Elohim. Even his magicians said, this is beyond us. Okay? They tried and they couldn't do it, said it was the finger of Elohim, and after all this, his heart was still hardened and he refused to let the people leave. Now, one thing that there was a word in here that was used in the complete Jewish Bible that I actually wanted to do some more research on. I'm not going to belabor you with it, but I honestly believe now, not believe now, I knew it was in existence, but it says specifically that these individuals were using their secret arts. Okay? Don't think that people can't talk to you and put some type of incantation and spell on you. Do you think the secret arts don't exist? You got evidence of it right here. Okay? Now, the research I wanted to kind of do on that was to kind of expose what that was kind of about. It's way beyond the scope of this, but just in the back of my mind, that was just a point of reference that I said, wow. I really need to be cognizant of who I'm around, have that spirit of discernment of what people are saying and what they're birthing out in the atmosphere over me or around me. You don't know what they got going on. You got the spiritual cooties, and you stay away from that. All right. After this, the swarms of insects actually came. I know for a fact that if you came in my house right now and if there was a spider crawling on the floor right now by this dear lady's feet, she would be on the ceiling. She'd actually be in one of them rafters up there looking down at me, asking me to stamp it out. Not stomp it out, stamp it out. Okay? All right? So this is what's going to happen next. It says, if the people are not allowed to leave, he goes back in front of Paro again. Again, this is all Most High is huddling up with Aharon and Moshe, telling them what the deal is. This is what's going to happen when you go in there. So all you got to do is just play along and execute what I tell you to do. They do it without fail. If Paro doesn't allow the people to leave, then the Most High will send swarms of insects to the house of Paro. The servants and the people of Mitzrayim will be plagued with these insects. They will cover the ground that the Egyptians stand on. They will be covered with swarms of insects. But the one thing that you're going to notice when you go through this is that none of this happened to those that are in the land of Goshen. None of this happened in the land of Goshen. And the Most High says, by this, Paro, you will be able to distinguish between my people and your people. Because when this happens, it won't touch them. Comes to pass, and he says, well, I shouldn't say comes to pass, but he goes in front of Paro and he tells them all this. If you don't, give you your warning, didn't heed to it, he says this is going to happen tomorrow. The very next day, what Moshe had spoken did happen. Paro summons Moshe and told him that the Hebrews were permitted to worship in the land of Mitzrayim. So he makes a deal with him. He says, listen to me. He said, I'm getting tired of this. Go ahead and you can worship your Elohim, but you got to do it here in the land of Mitzrayim. What's the problem that you're going to have with that? He actually tells him there's two problems with this. Number one, when you put us in the land of Mitzrayim and tell us to worship our Elohim, we have to make sacrifices. Those sacrifices, and again, when you listen to or go back to the dissertation that I had when I spoke about Yosef, and Yosef meeting his brothers, and they served them separate. There are things that the Egyptians eat, and there's things that the Hebrews eat, okay? The Egyptians actually worship the things that the Hebrews eat. And that's Moshe's issue, is that if I go ahead and we start sacrificing these things in front of these Egyptians, they'll stone us to death. So I'm putting my people in danger by staying in the land. Oh my goodness. Let me say this a different way. If I keep folk here in the United States and they don't go back to the land, when they stand up for the Most High, they might be in a little bit of danger. Maybe, maybe not. Says to him, if I stay here, people are going to get hurt. Okay, fine, no problem. The other issue that we have with that is that we have to travel 3 days out into the desert to do this at a specific place, so we can't do it here. So he says, okay, I'll let the people go, but you stay close. I want to see you. You don't go anywhere. Why? Because I'm using you. You're my crutch. When these things happen to Mitzrayim, I need you around. I'm manipulating you. So my heart is hardened to this whole entire thing. Why in the world would you continue to let that person go and you don't have any resolve to these issues? You need to leverage your power. Okay? Moshe, he says, fine, go. This is the first time that Paro actually says, go, leave. I'll allow it. Moshe says, okay, I'll do this, but on one condition. These games you playing need to stop. No more. We're not playing any more games. Be serious about this, because if you're not, He goes and intercedes. All of the insects go away. That brings us into chapter number 9. We're almost home. Okay. Probably skipping over a whole bunch of my stuff. All right. Chapter number 9, death of the livestock. He gets another huddle up. We go back in there. This is what I want you to say to Paro. If you don't let him leave, then I'm going to strike all of the livestock with a deadly illness. Goes in, tells him this, doesn't let the people leave. What happens is all of the horses, donkeys, camels, and flocks in Mitzrayim were struck with a devastating illness, to which all of those particular animals die. Again, when he tells him this, he says, when this happens, you are going to be able to distinguish between my people and your people, because when you go down to Goshen, it won't happen in Goshen. All the Most High's people will be protected. Now I got a question for you. I know you're bored to tears, but I got a question for you. If I was Pyro, or let's just say this, let's just do this. Can Moshe be considered an enemy of the state? Let's put Moshe in the United States. Is Moshe an enemy of the state? What does countries like the United States like to do with enemies of the state? Get rid of them. Why didn't Pyro just cut the problem out? Why? You answered it correctly. Couldn't. Why? Thank you. The reason why is because Yahweh earlier says that I am going to use Paro in Mitzrayim as an example to the world, to let the world know that I am Yahweh and there is no other. Paro is not in control. The Most High is. So I asked myself the question, how come he just didn't kill him? And that's the reason why. He had no power to. All right. We're doing good. Next one that happens, Paro remains obstinate and would not allow the people to leave after he had investigated that his flocks had died and none of the children of Israel's had died. We go on a little bit further. Moshe, again, huddles up with the Most High. Tell him to leave. If you don't leave, this is what's going to happen. Tell him this. Tell him that, or matter of fact, what you're going to do is you're going to take some kiln. Anybody know what a kiln is? It's actually the ashes that's in the kiln. A kiln is an oven. Go into an oven, take the ashes out of the oven, and then what you're going to do is you're going to throw it up in the air. And do this in front of Paro. And when you do this in front of Paro, it's going to turn into a big dust cloud. This dust cloud is going to settle on the people. It's going to settle on the people and it will become festering sores. Has anybody had a sore? Has anybody, festering sore? Infected sore. Imagine that all over your body. Now, I want to actually lighten the mood a little bit. Because what are we doing as Hebrews? I know what I would be doing. I'd be having a big tub of popcorn and a half-eaten chicken leg looking out my window like, wait till we show up to work tomorrow to build them bricks. Come on, beat me. I'm right here. Can you lift your arm? No, you can't, can you? Because you got sores on you. I'd be having all kinds of fun with these Egyptians. What? Making them upset, making them hard-hearted. This is happening to us. How come it ain't happening to them? I'd be looking out my window. Oh, you see all them frogs that they had in their room? Oh, poor Petrie. Oh. After this, the magicians again were called to stand in front of Paro and Moshe to reproduce these sores. It says that the magicians had so many sores on them that they couldn't even stand in front of Moshe because they were hurting so bad. Again, that particular plague ends with Paro saying, nope, ain't gonna let him leave. Ain't gonna do it. I'm Paro. I'm a god myself. He's saying this in himself, but obviously he's being manipulated into. Okay? Last one. Last plague. Hail. This is a good one. Most High says to Moshe, in the morning, I want you to get up and I want you to go tell Paro to let the people of Israel leave so they can worship me in the desert. And if you don't, I'm going to send hail. Now, This particular hail, and from this you will know that there is no other Elohim but me, but this hail will be something that you have never seen before in the history of Mitzrayim. Not in the history. It says the Most High could have, he said, actually say this to him as well. By now, Paro, the Most High, could have literally wiped out Egypt and all its inhabitants by now. But you still remain obstinate, so I'm going to show you the absolute power of the Most High all over the earth. 9 and 16 in Shemot says, but it is for every reason that I have kept you alive to show you my power, and that my name will resound throughout the earth. I am making an example out of you. That is what you just say to him. He says it's going to happen during the same time tomorrow if you don't let the children of Israel leave. He doesn't let the children of Israel leave, and guess what happens? Hail shows up. Now, the text says that every person that feared the Most High, whether it was in Goshen or in Mitzrayim, because by this time they started, at least the people started getting a little bit of a hint of what was going on. They pulled their livestock and they got indoors. Those that didn't stayed outside. It says this is what happened to them. The hail came down and broke trees. Have you been in a hailstorm? How bad has it ever been? Golf balls. Golf balls. Ask yourself the question. It also says in the text that the hail came down and killed people. Had fire. So, knowing me and my inquisitive mind, I said, how big and how fast does hell have to be coming down out of the sky on fire to break tree roots, bark of trees, damage the trunk of the trees, and riddle and kill a person? Hail. Hail, matter of fact, let's do a little something on hail real quick. I'll read this preamble for you. Hail is a form of solid precipitation. It is distinct from ice pellets. Though they're too often confused, it consists of balls or irregular lumps of ice, each which is called a hailstone. Ice pellets fall generally in cold weather, while hail growth is greatly inhibited during cold surface temperatures. Hail can go from a size 0 at a 1/4 inch to even being recorded at hail being at a size H10, which is 7 inches. If you take out $1, I don't know if you knew this, but if you take out $1 bill, or any currency from the United States, it is exactly 6 inches. You add another inch to that, that's how big around these things were, coming out of the sky. And H9, this is the damage that an H9, which is a little under 7 inches, will do. Concrete roofs are broken. Marks are left on concrete walls. It makes holes in walls of wooden houses. Large tree trunks are split and knocked down. People are at risk of injury, of fatal injury. An H10, which is almost 7 inches and maybe a little bit bigger, it damages brick houses. It destroys wooden houses, and people are at risk of fatal injuries. This stuff is probably coming out of the sky like bullets. And you getting pelted with bullets that are the size of bricks. Most High wasn't playing around with these folks. Okay? I want to let you know something about your Most High. Most High is no nonsense. 0. When you get on that other side of the fence, when you get into that New Testament, everything is nonsense. Because what it is going to allow you to do whatever you want to do, whenever you want to do it. Oh, how can God kill all of those people? How can God kill all of those people? It's worse. That's horrible. It's genocide. Because your God is not the same one that we have. You tout that you love the Most High who created the heavens and the earth, but your Most High is a no-nonsense Most High. He will take you smooth out. He ain't going to sit there and be like, you know what? You offended me. You violated my word. But you know what? I'll die for you so you don't have to worry about it. You don't have the same Elohim. It's funny to me how you tout on another issue about the fact that, some people in here know that if you ever come over to my house, I have you watching different things about the church. The modern thing that's going on in the church right now is that they're afraid of progressivism and being what they call woke and cancel culture. This is what Christians are concerned with. And their concern is, hey, you know what? I am sick and tired of this cancel culture, people just seeing all kinds of things about our scripture, and they're making a new Christianity. I said, how in the world do you have the unmitigated gall to be worried about somebody making new Christianity when the very book that you read is called the New Testament? You took something over here, you cherry-picked whatever you wanted and made up your own religion over here, and then got the nerve to talk about people over here just defecting from the church. They're making this new religion called progressivism. They're not getting back to the roots of what God said. What did he say? You have no idea. Sorry, I need to get off that soapbox. Okay. Let's get back into the text. One last thing about hail. The speed of falling hail depends on its size. Marble size hail falls at around 20 miles per hour. Baseball size hail falls and can exceed 100 miles an hour. That's one of the largest hailstones recorded on record, is falling at 100 miles an hour. And this is coming down like rain in bricks on fire. It says it damaged so much that it damaged everything that was in the field. There was something that matter of fact, Moshe narrates quite succinctly. It says it damaged the flax and the barley, and they were ruined because they were ripe. It says the flax and the barley were ripe. It says the wheat and the buckwheat didn't get damaged because it became ripe later. Then I did, I got to do a little, it kind of gives you a little hint of the timing at which this was happening. So I did a little research on barley. I said, spring barley is grown in the northern hemisphere and is typically harvested between July and August, while winter barley is harvested in April or May. As a rule, flax seed is harvested approximately 90% when the seed heads have been turned into gold and the seed rattles in the pods about 100 days after planting the seeds. So this is happening anywhere between what we call April and August, because this is when the harvest came. Okay? So this is kind of that general time. So you can kind of say, okay, well, Most High said this was, or Moshe narrates and says this is the time that these particular barley and wheat were ripe. So this has to be during this particular time of the year when this is happening. Just if you wanted to know, kind of nerdy stuff. But he says that there's one thing that was damaged, again, which was flax and barley. So let's just do a little something on flax. We only got a couple more minutes, and then we're out of here. Flax. And I picked flax because flax is famous. Okay? Flax is also known as common flax or linseed. It's a flowering plant and is cultivated as food and fiber crop in regions of the world where regions of the world with temperate climate. Textiles made from flax are known in Western countries as linen. So this is what linen is made out of. And are traditionally used for bed sheets, underclothes, and table linen. Its oil is known as linseed oil. In addition to referring to the plant itself, the word flax may refer to the unspun fibers of the flax plant. Okay, now I said flax was kind of famous. I'm going to go off on a little tirade a little bit, and then really after that, we are done. We got one verse I want to read, and then that's it. Where does flax show up that's famous? That is a trick. That's not a trick question, but that's a super trivial question. I mean, it's trivia. Where have you heard of flax before? Ah, very good. Everybody know the story about flax. Flax was used to hide. Okay, so let's just do this real quick. So they get across the Jordan. So Moshe has died. Yehoshua takes over. So Moshe gets him to the door. Yehoshua brings him in the house. Okay? All right. Now, once he gets him in the house, or matter of fact, that's what Yehoshua is doing. And on their way to the door, okay, they cross the Jordan, and Yehoshua does the circumcision on everybody, okay? Right after that, Yehoshua sends out 2 spies. Those 2 spies go to a town called Shittim. While they're in Shittim, they go to the house of a prostitute. Her name was Rachav. Now, this is what I had mentioned to when Rabbi and Yochanan had came over to my house. I mentioned this to my wife as well. You got to understand that when Yehoshua was leading these people into the land, how old are these folks? These are young people, 20s, 30s. They can't be that old because all of them, they were spent 40 years in the desert, and those folks had to die off. These are young men. You know them young men that you see walking down the street with their pants sagging down to their knees? That age. Fortified. And I'm setting that up for a reason. Because when they get in there, they're noticed by some people that are in the town going into this prostitute's home. And so when they go into the home, they go back and tell the king. They say, we know that 2 Hebrew men have come into this town. Now you got to understand that in the narrative of Rahab, she tells you why these folks are afraid of them. They get in there, and she says, she stops immediately. She says she knows who these guys are. So for whatever reason, she noticed who they were. So she says, oh, okay, wait a minute. Oh, okay, I know who you are. Listen, for the protection of my family and my brothers and sisters, I'm going to hide you, okay? Because I know that when you guys get here, it's a wrap. We're literally not going to survive. So for the protection of my family, I want you to make sure that you don't kill me and my family if I hide you. The 2 Hebrew men say, fine, no problem. No problem, we won't kill you. When we kill, like it was emphatic, like it's coming. Yeah, I'm glad you said it. So they said on one condition, as long as you keep your mouth shut and don't give up our position, we won't kill you. She says, okay. So what she does is she takes them to the attic of her house and hides them under sheets of flax. The men subsequently escape, and they get out because the men from the town show up and say, where are these Hebrews at? She lies for them, and she says, you know what? You guys have shut the gates already. They were going out right before you shut the gates. Go after them. They shouldn't be too far off. You should be able to catch up to them and deal with them. Okay? They go out. They try to follow him. She goes back up and says, hey, come up under the flax. She lets him down by a rope, and she ties a sash around her window so when the children of Israel come back, they know not to hurt this lady in this particular house. Okay? Just a sidebar about flax. Shows up again. Last but not least, and we will be finished, because we talked about flax. We talked about the fact that all of the produce had been damaged during that particular time. Moshe leaves the city and spreads out his hands towards the heavens after this thunder and all this is going on, because Paro comes back and says, please intercede on my behalf. to let the rain stop. And it concludes, again, man, this is these cliffhangers because now you got to come back for Pesach, or actually you're going to observe Pesach, but then when we come back as a congregation for Feast of Matzah, we'll get the rest of this. But we got to stop here because that's where the parashah ends with this last note. It says, when Paro saw the rain, hail, and thunder had ended, he sinned still more by making himself hard-hearted. He and his servants, Paro, was made hard-hearted, and he didn't let the people of Israel go, just as Yahweh had said through Moshe. And that is where we conclude and end the parashah. What to take away from this? A lot. There's a lot of information that's in here. Know, if anything, that there is a master plan. And the Most High is in control of that master plan. You want to be on the side of the Most High and not made an example out of United States of America. For all of you that are on the fence about the Most High and what the Most High is doing and what we need to do and get back in right standing with the Most High. The Most High does not like idolatry. The Most High does not like us doing anything outside of the confines of what he has designated for his people. The Most High is very specific. He's made you smart. He's made you intelligent, that you can read for yourself the words of the Most High and cleave to the Most High, as the scriptures say. I leave this with you, and I want to bless all of you that you continue to walk in the understanding of the Most High, that it may go well with you. Yivarekaka, ve'yishmareka. Yahweh, vishmareka. That's to say, Ye'er Yahweh panav eleka, vehuneka. Yisa Yahweh panav eleka v'yasham laka shalom. Which simply means, may Yahweh bless you and keep you. Bless you, meaning something is going to continue to keep happening. It's not a gift. Gift happens one time. Your rabbi last week enumerated, you breathing in and out is a blessing. You being able to walk one foot in front of the other is a blessing. Why? Because it's continuing to happen. That's why you call it a blessing. May Yahweh bless you and keep you. May Yahweh lift his face to shine upon you and give you his favor, not the favor of a man. His favor. May Yahweh lift up his face toward you and give you shalom. Until next time, peace be with you.